Let's talk to former Navy SEAL Team 6 Commander Dave Sears, former Deputy Assistant to Bush 43 Brad Blakeman, and Olympic Media Managing Editor Katie Frates. Katie, a president can be damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. First of all, to get as far as he did, and the concessions that he was able to get from the North Koreans prior to sitting down at any table, is one thing, but now blaming him for this thing falling apart when in fact there are signs today it might be back on. But it's almost I get a sense that some are rooting for failure here.
Well, yeah, President Trump is damned if he does or damned if he doesn't. The left is going to find a way to be upset at him about this, whether North Korea canceled it or he canceled it or somehow someone else had canceled it. It would all be the president's fault. But honestly, Neil, I have a friend who's serving overseas, and when he heard that Trump put his foot down and said that if they're not going to play ball, then we're not going to meet, they loved that. Him and his service members were so ecstatic to see a president who was finally willing to throw punches. And you see North Korea turning around now potentially and saying we have a lot to lose in not negotiating with America, and they might be coming back to the table now. So I think the left should probably hold their tongue for a little bit longer.
All right. To Dave Sears now on this. They did have the hat toss at Annapolis, one of the favorite and more iconic moments in sort of military reviews where they throw the hats into the air. And again, I just wonder, oh my God, where's my hat? That's just me, Dave. You're a hero. I'm not. I play one on TV. But I'm looking at this, Dave, and I'm wondering, the president really got these kids excited today. And I'm wondering where they fit into this global picture of a proud or strong United States. That's what the president was portraying at a time when he was the one who backed away from these North Korean talks. So immediately, some of the president's opponents were saying, you're sending mixed messages. What do you think?
I totally disagree with his opponents. Actually, I don't pay much attention to them at all because none of what they do, none of their analysis is based in objectivity at all. So just like Katie said, it doesn't matter what he does, they're going to take the opposite. If you just simply look at the fact that he got 3 hostages released from North Korea, that is a huge win that no other president was able to accomplish ever. Just that is a giant win, but they don't portray it that way. I think that he's showing a position of strength, as he said in his speech at the Naval Academy, which is great, which is a message to these guys that are coming up, that are going to be our next generation. I don't see any inconsistency in what he did at all.
Brad Blakeman, I was talking to a historian yesterday. Doug Weida was saying, back maybe to the Ronald Reagan example with the Star Wars Defense Initiative, a strategic initiative that a lot of people at the time, the media, to say the least, the Soviet Union, thought he was crazy. But it's good to keep him guessing, this historian said. It's good to make the world wonder that you might just do anything. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that Mikhail Gorbachev was poorly briefed, as is Kim, about leaders in America, and particularly Ronald Reagan and Trump. They're principled leaders who stand on principle. They're not going to make a bad deal. It's better sometimes to do things that you don't do than to do things you're maybe expected or forced to do. Gorbachev never thought Ronald Reagan would back out, and when he did, Gorbachev had a whole new view of Ronald Reagan and the American people. I know that. I spoke to Gorbachev under 43 when he came to talk to him. Now, Donald Trump is not going to make a bad deal. He's used to making good deals. The problem is Democrats are used to apology and appeasement, like Iran, like withdrawing from Iraq. You're not going to find that with this president. I think by Donald Trump sticking to principle, we're going to get the best end of the deal if a deal is to be had. Well,
just keep in mind as well that Republicans have been hoodwinked before. It was George Bush who also went into talks with the North Koreans and was led down the wrong path. But having said that, Katie, I am curious as to where this goes. If the talks can get back on, can they get back on for June 12th? And if they can't get back on and they're delayed months, then what?
Well, then what? That's a really good question. I think June 12th is coming up very quickly. We'll see if they can make that work. But I look at it as, can we get a meeting to happen at all? Whether it's in June, whether it's a few months from now, if we can get sitting down with the North Koreans and discussing how to potentially start moving toward a better life for the people in North Korea, better relationships with South Korea, then whatever time that happens, it will be good, just as long as we can have the communication with them to make the meeting happen. I think that's more important right now than when it happens.
All right, guys, thank you all very, very much.